Howdy, this is tubalcain again, and this is the second edition of my This and That series, and I have quite a few acquisitions and gifts since the last edition, so before they pile up too much on me, I thought I'd go ahead and present what I got here. I have been to an auction, and it was a machine shop auction, but I got outbid on virtually everything. I did manage to waste $200, but I had a whole collection of these some time ago, and you know, there were three of those at that auction. I just had to have them, and those were $20 a pop, but I don't care. I like these, even though they're probably useless and probably a novelty, and they've stopped making them. This is a Crescent 4 to 6, but I like to carry one of these in my pocket. Pretty neat. When my brother first saw one of these years ago, he thought it was a gag, that somebody had welded them together and ground them and done a real nice job. And then this is the 6 to 8, and I believe that there was a larger one as well, which I do not have. And these are genuine Crescent brands, so these are probably from the 40s or 50s, maybe even 60s. They're not that old, but I think they're neat. Well, in the last edition, I talked about this beryllium copper wrench. You know, they're spark proof, and this is one of the harder alloys, probably the hardest alloy, but beryllium is dangerous. And Bob from Canada is a retired safety man, and he just emailed me and told me, you got to be careful with this stuff. Do not pull the safety Nazi business with this thing, because it is dangerous. Do not clean these up. Do not wire brush them or sand them or anything like that, because there is a possibility of a progressive nerve damage caused by this. So if you got any of those, throw them away. I believe I will throw that away, because it doesn't really have any value anyway. And but Bob is a let me see if I can find it here. He's a retired metallurgist, so he is a man that would know a lot about that, and I suppose I need to wash my hands right now, but I'm going to get rid of that thing. If you've got any, I suggest you get rid of it. If you've ever seen anybody with nerve damage, you will know that it's no joke. Last year, after a tractor ride, there apparently was money left from what we had paid, and they bought gifts to use up the money. So everybody got a 5-gallon bucket with various things in it. But I got, among the things, these little clamps. Now, I talk all the time about quality, or the lack of it. I've never used this. I never opened this till now. But I could see through the clear plastic that, well, what's going on here? Didn't they assemble them? Look, virtually all of them broke or fell apart in the package, never touched. There's one that works, but I sure wouldn't want to use it on something. But how is it that the plastic could actually disintegrate, or the pressure from the spring caused it to just pop apart? Look at that. That is some of the junk from over the pond. And I don't even believe this was sold in a dollar store, but it probably was a $3 or $4 pack for this. I don't know what it was, but it would have been more than $1. But have you ever seen anything like this, that it is self-destructive? And Obama doesn't get it, that if we had industry back in this country, almost all of our problems would be solved, and get away from the junk. The toys. These aren't even decent toys for children. Sorry that I ranted a little bit, but I've never seen anything fall apart in the package before. And this is what I think of this junk. I'm not even saving the good ones, because I don't believe they're any good. I'm particularly fond of small precision tools, and I've got a whole drawer of them, and why I bought more I do not know, because you only need one little square, but I suppose I got a dozen of them now. But I'm fascinated with them, and this is a little Lufkin with the center finding head, not satin chrome, but Still in very good condition. Reasonably priced. Why I bought this, I don't know. That's a Brown and Sharp. But it's a little beauty. Here is a Starrett. No, I'm sorry, it's also a Lufkin. This guy had quite a bit of Lufkin. I really do like Lufkin tools. They haven't made them in many, many years, other than tape rulers and other foolishness. But they got away from their precision line quite a while ago. A little tarnish on this, but there's an extra blade. And yet one more square. That's a Brown and Sharp with a 4-inch blade. Isn't that nice? A die maker square, I believe it would be called. Another hermaphrodite caliper, made in England. This isn't very old. There's a dead man's name on there. But a lot of their tools are made in England now. I don't know why. Well, yeah, we do. But they're still pretty good quality, or they are good quality. They just have another plant over there, I believe. You saw me show this in a video, but I got another one of these Starrett spacing center punches, but it's been ground quite a few times. Not a very good job, because you know this is a hard one to grind, because you can't spin it around on the grinding wheel to grind it. Oh, how many of these little 3-inchers do I have? What brand is that? You know, that's not marked, but I believe it to be a Brown and Sharp. I don't think that it's a Starrett. This is a drafting tool. Have you ever seen one of these? You spin it around. You hold the top and you spin it around. And you can draw a bunch of circles with the same center without tearing the paper up, because you don't have to reinsert the point into the paper. Well, nobody uses paper anymore. You know, I still live in the 50s. I kind of like that. I had to pay $4 for that, though. Do you ever watch A-Bomb's videos? He goes by the name of A-Bomb79, and he's out of, I think, Pensacola, Florida, but he's got some good videos. But when he gets things from people, he calls them viewer appreciation gifts, and I've got several of those, too. And Michael Keener out of Texas sent me this nice follower rest for a South Bend 9, so that should fit mine. Looks in good condition too. Possibly a little cleaning up here on the jaws. But thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. You know, the bidding is absolutely fierce at these tool auctions, because, and what has ruined it and driven the prices up is eBay. Because there are many people that are buying things there. They have no clue what they are, but they know they're of value. So they either look it up on their phone while they're standing there, or to take it home, and if just their gut feeling of you know, if they're buying it cheap enough. But it really drives the prices up. And the people in the attending the audience aren't the ones that are able to, the machinists there anyway, like me, aren't able to buy much. But this pan here for a few dollars, these are primarily ball end mills, a whole set. Now I already got quite a few ball end mills, but you know, and some of them are double end. That's a nice set, and roughing end mill, and a couple of T cutters there, but they look like they've been modified. I might have to throw those away. I need to throw things away that I know I will never use. But also in the pan there are a couple step blocks. One of these T-slot cleaners from MSC, Taiwan. 5 half-inch studs, and a couple of strap type hold-down clamps, which will be usable, but they certainly are small. They're probably 3/8 here in the slot, so, but those will be usable on my small rotary table. This little set here, boy, he had a lot of different sets, and there was over and under reamers and other things I wanted, and I got outbid on. But here we have a bunch of center drills, a lot of countersinks. Why? Well, I already got so many of those. And a bunch of center drills. I never understood why you would want center drills this long, because the whole idea, as far as I'm concerned, is the shorter the better. But I got the long ones. Might be something in there that I can use sooner or later. The price was cheap enough. Now don't turn this video off because I'm saving the best for last, and I don't mean this, but I had to give good money for this. I believe it was about 40 bucks, but look at all of the counter bores, and I did not have a decent set of counter bores, and most all of these are a major brand, American made, USA, Putman. Putman was a popular brand of cutting tools years ago, but all the way from the small ones to quite large, larger than I will ever use. Looks like somebody stepped them down, which is fine, and they're apparently a repeat here. Shoot, we even go down that small. Must be for a number 8. And then there's a series of these counter bores also that require a separate pilot, and I think I would have to make the pilots, although there might be a few pilots in here, but there's a little set screw to hold them in. And what I like here is a whole series of these taper reamers. Now those are used for tapered machine pins. And boy, there's a bunch of them there. Might be some repeats even. Here's some more of these counter bores that require a separate pilot. There's a bunch of pilots here. Not sure what those fit. Possibly. That's way too large for this. I haven't spent much time going through these yet. And a whole series of these little adjustable, expandable type reamers. And the small size clear up to about a 1/2 inch. All look to be in reasonably good shape. And those are nice if you need to ream a hole that's just a little bit oversized or undersized. You want to take the time to adjust them. On the back side here, a few more pilots. Big reamers there. So that's really a nice set. When you need them, you need them. That's simple. Here's another bit of a novelty, but I like it, and it's a US made up in Duluth by Diamond Tool Company. A little adjustable wrench on the end of a pair of pliers and a screwdriver there, and a little bit different in the way of tips here, and a wire cutter all in one. That's a handy thing to have in your pocket when you're baling hay. Thank you people out there for watching and the good comments that you give me and so on. I sure do appreciate it, and also these gifts that have been given to me. And recently I also had a considerable amount of money donated to me, cash, check, just for the good of the cause to help me with some of my expenses. And that person is going to remain anonymous, but thank you very much. Well over a year ago, the good people at Edge Technology sent me a bunch of tools. I'm going to show you those now. I don't believe that I showed them before, but they sure have nice products, and they're listed in all the major catalogs. But here in this case is their Pro Tram system for tramming the milling machine head. That goes into the spindle. This will be shown in one of my videos later on. It's got 2 indicators. Isn't that nice? Brightly anodized. It's really pretty. Patent pending. With instructions. Thank you, Edge Technology. Also by Edge Technology, this very nice Pro Stop table mounted work positioner or work stop. You just bring the work up against the end of that, and it's adjustable in the T-slot and up and down this way, and the rod goes in and out, and all the wrenches were provided. And that's a pretty nifty one. That's the table mounted one. Now I'll show you another one here in just a second. It gives you great repeatability if you're machining a bunch of parts. And here's their other one. It's called the Pro Stop Vise mount. Now it's way too large for this little vise, but the idea here is this bolts right on to the back of the vise, but I believe that it's the holes are drilled for a Kurt vise. But that would mount there, and then the rest of it attached to this. And there's also a few bolts and things in here. That's one I haven't used yet because it doesn't fit this vise. But aren't they nicely made and finished? They really went to the extra effort on that. I mean, there isn't a burr on there or a scratch. That's nice. A couple more items yet. This is their little stop that attaches right onto the vise jaw, but these vise jaws are beveled or chamfered here, so it's not going to grip. But the idea is that this clamps onto that. Again, I believe that this would probably fit the Kurt vise, and then the stop here is adjustable, but it would be something like that if it fit that vise. This is Edge Technology's Pro Lathe gauge. It looks like this. Mounted, it's a little bubble level mounted on a ball bearing, and it simply goes in a collet or a chuck on a lathe now. These are lathe accessories, and I got it laying right on the end of the tool. And if the bubble is perfect, then your tool is on center. However, if you use this, it's very important that the lathe itself be perfectly leveled, or you would get a false reading. Pretty neat. This is a similar tool. It's called the Speedy Lathe Gauge, and it's just a little different slant on what I just showed you. Again, a bubble level, and right here we got a V-block or a V-way, and the tool comes up against here. So I'll put this on the round work and lay this surface on the tool, and if the bubble is level, then the tool is on center. And it works best by holding it like this. You got to hold it up tight and bring it down onto the tool. Here's my last item. About time, some of you are thinking. This is a garage sale item. I actually got it for my grandkids, but they didn't seem to care two hoots about it. But it's to practice Morse code. You can set the volume and the tone. And if it drives the parents nuts, and it will, put an earphone in there. Well, I did get Jordan to learn SOS, but I thought something like this was so neat when I was a kid. But that's a thing of the past. You know, I can still see my Uncle Sales in Huntley, Montana, on the Northern Pacific. We were at his station there, and this was in the 50s, 58 and 56. We were there two different times, and watch him sending Morse code. But their keys were the sideways ones. I think he used two fingers, but boy, could he ever do that. Then he went out and stuck that Y up with instructions for the engineer. I think their train orders is what they were. Oh, I thought that was a wonderful thing. And at that same time, they had brought in some of those big boy engines from out west, and they were being towed to the scrapyard. And Uncle Sales called us there at his house where we were staying, and Dad took us down to the station, and we saw those big engines being taken to the scrapyard. And it didn't affect me that much. They already were heavily into diesels, but I know my dad was just sick about it because he liked those old steam engines, the big boys, Northern Pacific. Hope you enjoyed this little episode. This is tubalcain saying so long for now, and continue to watch my This and That series.